Hello and welcome to episode 1271 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Monday, March 11th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this afternoon by Justin Mason. Justin, it's March 11th? How's it going, man?
No, it is like prime time draft time, right? Like it is.
It is the best time of year, man.
Oh my God. Like I was just like talking to my wife yesterday because I had an auction that I did
How'd
on
that go?
NFBC. It went great. It went fantastic. Yeah.
Nothing smooth as can be? Nothing?
No drama. Don't check
Okay.
Twitter.
No. Okay, cool. Good to know.
So and she was like, well, you need to like calendar out like what days like you're going to be doing drafts. And I was all like, well, I would say probably every day for the rest of the month.
I hit Jen with a catch you in April.
Yeah.
And I was only half kidding. I was like, listen, you know how this month is. Try to make time. Hey, got off the computer yesterday, watched the Oscars with her. Had a good time with
I watched
that.
the Oscars too.
Enjoyable, solid broadcast, brisk. I appreciated the hour early as more of an early bird these days.
A naked John Cena.
Naked John Cena, insane body. I'd go out there naked if I looked like him too.
Which is crazy because you can't see him.
That's exactly it. That's the craziest part. And yet I felt like I saw him very clearly there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun wearing my Barbenheimer shirt as sort of like a ode to the Oscars. A lot of good movies this year. My favorite was American Fiction. I absolutely adored that movie.
Loved that. I actually really wish Jeffrey Wright had gotten the Oscar for that.
They got the screenplay move. They got the screenplay win though. That made me so happy. I love. It
was a fantastic year for movies. Really
was. Jen's a huge movie buff, so she was geeked. We did ballots. She beat me by 2. But we had some
Danielle
fun.
Beat me by 2 on our ballots. I got.
We had some
12,
fun back and
forth. She got 14. Yeah.
She, and she knew where to go with some things. And I'm not saying like she cheated or anything, but she's more in tune with it. She listens to movie pods and all that. So I thought I felt good even hanging for a little while, and then toward the end of the night there, as we moved along, she pulled ahead there, and I couldn't catch up. But yeah,
see, my problem was I hated Poor Things. I know everybody loves Poor Things, but I hated Poor Things.
I liked it. I didn't love it. Okay, so I actually got some dubs. I got a dub over Jen on that. I think she took Lily and I took Emma.
Yeah, I took Lily Gladstone.
I just love Emma Stone. I've been an Emma Stone fan since Superbad, Easy A. She's a queen. So yeah, I'm not as big on Poor Things myself, but I like it more than you, I will say. Anyway, movies aside, it was a good showing and a lot of fun there. We got some sleepers to talk about. We are the sleeper and the bust after all. We might as well talk some sleepers. And listen, y'all, don't get hung up on the terminology. I say this in my articles anytime I talk sleepers, whatever you want to call them, sleepers, breakouts, overperforming draft prices, whatever. We're going to pick some guys in some ADP ranges that we think can be markedly better than that ADP cost. That's what we're going for here. But first, we got some news. And Justin, not a damn bit of it's good. Okay, maybe one piece of it is good because it's a superstar adding another eligibility, but the rest of it sucks. Garrett Cole getting an MRI on his elbow. Good thing I got 3 shares of him. That's fun. Obviously, this doesn't mean he's cooked. We're all freaking out, as we always do anytime someone gets an MRI. But where do we stand right now? If you have a draft tonight, what are you doing? How early would you take him?
I wouldn't take him.
I figured that was your answer.
When the phrase "he will seek multiple opinions" has been put out
just wants to find somebody to say what he wants to hear.
That is that's not a good sign. So
that sucks, dude. I really hate
that. Remember when I can't remember if I was saying it with you on the pod recently or whatever, but I was all like, hey, it really feels like it hasn't been that bad of a year for injuries.
Yeah. Way to go, dummy.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you had to really just jinx it and things go crazy. And you guys talked about the Noelvi Marte PED suspension, which, by the way, one thing we need to do, we as the grand fantasy community, and I know that Cincinnati hasn't earned necessarily the benefit of the doubt with their owner. Actually, their front office is pretty good, but maybe we should look for the reason why a team might do something, maybe a little bit more than dismissing it. It's like, oh, this is such a stupid move. I'm not saying we should instantly jump to throwing accusations.
I don't think the Candelario thing had anything to do with it.
They know about these things pretty early, though.
I don't think it was that early.
Okay, maybe
they knew like 2 months in advance.
I don't know. I truly don't know. But I'm just saying, maybe we should, and I will say, if I can back pat us a little bit, I feel like we would have been more open and or more positive about the Candelario signing. Like, hey, yeah, they got a bunch of guys, but they don't need to trade anybody. Shit happens. And it doesn't always have to be PEDs, but it can be injury. And having a veteran guy too with all these young guys, not that I don't know what his clubhouse personality is like or anything, but he's a veteran. He's been around the block a bunch. We're always looking to snark something, and it's like, wow, it makes a lot more sense now. Whether they knew or not, obviously it fits perfectly now for Candelario to be there with Noelve out for half the year. And I just think maybe when we see a team sign somebody or trade for somebody that doesn't seem to fit, maybe we should assume that they're operating with more information than we are. That's all. Maybe just tap the brakes a little bit on the snark and say like, maybe there's something there. I don't know what it is. And again, don't go around throwing accusations at, that position player's, the incumbent as a PED guy instantly. That's a bad idea too. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying maybe teams know what they're doing a little bit more than we give them credit for, except for the Rockies. They never do. They're always eating paste in the corner.
The Rockies
always eating paste in the corner.
Clearly out of the loop. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't think Candelario signing had anything to do with this personally. I don't know how soon they knew.
I don't either. I don't either, by the way.
My guess is that they didn't quite know this news. That being said, it all fits together well for them, like you said. And I am going, or I actually already raised my, I think, projection on Ellie De La Cruz, which still doesn't make him a second round pick. However,
I think Greg's going to take him in the main event.
I think it makes him a third round pick.
Which at that point you can sneak him in the second if you really want him.
Yeah.
If you think his line is third round pick.
And this isn't response to all the people roasting us on Reddit, apparently.
Bring it. I don't care. I stand by it. It's a stupid ass pick in the second round. And I told Greg that.
It is. Yes.
Don't do
a stupid ass pick in the second round. Well, and I think too, if we push up the starting pitchers, like he probably should be a fourth rounder, probably.
But he won't get moved down. Ellie will be one of the ones who survives, I think.
No, absolutely. Ellie will continue to be a second round pick.
One thing I will say about my Ellie dislike, because I say, why do Ellie when you can get O'Neill? O'Neill's zooming up the board to where they're not that far apart now.
O'Neill's going to be a second round pick here pretty quick.
I'm still going to take the O'Neill discount because as it's still standing right now as a discount. But it's getting close to where it's not even going to be a discount. So, by the way, I'm nervous that maybe I shouldn't have said anything about Greg drafting tomorrow right now. Sorry, Greg. I love you. Okay. So Cole, back to Cole. By the way, this kind of goes to my point about calling pitchers safe. No such thing. No such thing. Okay.
Yep.
This is what I mean, because you go look at the profile and the statistical, build up over the years and you say, who's safer than Garrett Cole? Nobody is safe. And again, that doesn't mean that nobody has an added risk. I would not say that Jacob deGrom is the same safety as Logan Webb. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the safe guys are also remarkably dangerous. That's it.
Yep.
Okay, Edward Cabrera getting an MRI on his shoulder. He's not really been on my radar. I know some folks have definitely, been intrigued by him, but I have not been one of those people. MRI on the shoulder seems scary. He didn't have a walk in 5 innings, which was encouraging even for 5 innings, but I assume he's off your board now since he wasn't really on it to begin with. Yeah, Edward Cabrera?
Yeah. Question circling back real quick to the Garrett Cole thing.
Yes.
Because I got this question a lot in my chat today. Does this make Strider the number 1 overall pick?
Because of the gap now.
Yeah.
Well, I will say for me, Burns to Cole was marginal. Like you couldn't see the difference.
To me,
but there's only one instead of two.
Strider was pretty close.
It was Strider and then Cole Burns, but now you eliminate one of those guys, and then it is from Burns down to that next group. Like it was Cole Burns.
I just mean mostly in terms of like what we'll see in the ADP, not necessarily like your rankings personally, but like is he now? I mean, Acuna played in a simulated game, so
yeah, I think Acuna's still going to hold the 1 spot, but
I
there's
think
going to be a lot of Strider 1s.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 1A, 1B, and then
who do you think goes 1 tomorrow? The first main, Tuesday.
Strider.
The 12th. You think so?
Yeah.
That'd be hot. We don't know who's picking, but maybe we can get that board posted up on Twitter or something. Anyway, moving on. Edward Cabrera, we're not really taking him. We'll stay tuned on that. Just letting y'all know that the shoulder's bulky. He's pretty cheap anyway. If the price goes down and you still love him, you can take that gamble. We're not necessarily guys that would do that personally, but if the price comes down, he's already pretty inexpensive, right? Let me see what Edward Cabrera's ADP has been. It has been 265. Okay, so we're using ADP for the RotoWire Online Championship, 12 team waiver leagues, and we're using it since last Monday, so March 4th, and that's 24 drafts. So he's 264. What if he dropped 100 picks, 364? Let's say you were already an Edward Cabrera guy. Take yourself out of your own brain where you weren't going to draft him anyway. If you were still an Edward Cabrera guy, would you take him then with essentially your last pick almost? What is that?
Sure.
364?
Yeah, why not? I mean,
it's a 25th rounder at that point.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you're going to be dropping those guys anyways. Like, if you look what I did in the reserves of my auction, like, I'm going to drop probably 4 or 5 of those guys.
You're taking some specs.
In the second fab run, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, like, yeah, fine. Just, honestly, you probably shouldn't and just take a closer spec and then drop that closer spec for Edward Cabrera. Because he'll probably still be on the waiver wire, but I have no problem. Whatever you want to do with those last.
If he's your guy,
if he's your guy, go get him. Yeah, fine.
If he's your guy, you can stick with him because you're probably going to get a discount off the 264.
Because he'll be an easy drop if
you're going to know one way or the other. Yep,
exactly.
Mookie Betts. Our last bit of news on our Friday episode, or our only bit of news on Friday episode, was Gavin Lux, not the shortstop. Did not take much long after that episode that we heard Mookie Betts will be the everyday shortstop. What does this do for Mookie Betts' ADP? Now, I already was somebody who feels that he has every bit of case to be the number 2. He is my number 2 or like 2A because, again, I'm on that Strider tip where if you want to go pitcher early, just he's right there with Acuna. So one of the Braves and then Betts number 2 for me. I obviously am just encouraged by this. He's going to add another position 20 games into the season, or 10. Is it 10 in season? 10 in season. So about a week and a half in, and 5 in Yahoo there. A week and a half in, Mookie Betts going to add another position, second short outfield. Does he move up to your number 2 guy?
Probably not, but
okay.
It's just nice. Like I love Mookie Betts. I have no problem if I end up with him. It's just a little bonus. Like I don't think that at that point, like the positional eligibility means that much to me. It's just a little bit nice to have. So maybe I probably take Mookie over Corbin Carroll. I probably take Mookie over J-Rod.
That's pretty close to 2 then.
I think Witt
and the Braves.
I think Tatis.
Tatis. Okay, I can get behind that. First year I've ever like really been in on Tatis, so I can hear.
You look at what he did in like 130 games because of missing time left over from the suspension or whatever it was.
Well, suspension was the guaranteed time, and then the reason that I was cautious on Tatis was because. Is there any lingering effect from the health? It turns out there was not. So all you missed was the suspension time, and then he took off.
I think Tucker is in the conversation as well.
I'm cool with that too.
Honestly, and J-Rod's in the conversation too, because at least J-Rod and Tucker have like 0 health concerns, right? Like they
at least right now,
injured. Like Betts has dealt with injuries. Corbin Carroll dealt with his shoulder. Tatis dealt with his shoulder. So I go back and forth. Honestly, this is why I want to pick like 8 or 9. Because I feel like I'm still going to get an elite guy no matter what from that spot.
It really seems that way. It really, really does. I mean, the 8 ADP right now in the ADP that we're using for these sleepers is Tatis. Yeah. So, I mean, it's such an interesting group right now. So, yeah, that adds a little extra bonus there. I think the second base eligibility that he already has was a bigger deal anyway for Mookie Betts. So, adding shortstop doesn't greatly changed the game for me. Like I said, I already had him number 2 anyway. Joey Votto signs a minor league deal with Toronto. Did you guys talk about this yesterday? I didn't see it on the rundown. Okay, it's not a hugely impactful move, but would you draft him in a DC? He knows he's probably going to start in the minors, work his way up, but like he's going to basically fill the Brandon Belt role, no?
Yeah, I mean, I think he could. I mean, I thought Justin Turner was supposed to fill that Brandon Belt role, but...
Well, I think he'll be more of a consistent starter, he being... Turner, and then Votto can be like a part-timer.
Well, if Turner's a consistent starter, where is he start? Is he starting at second? Because they still have Vlad Guerrero Jr. at first. If Turner's the DH, then where does Votto play?
No. Turner to third. IKF can eat my ass.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not in on that.
I hope he's listening, but
I hope he's not. Actually, that was really inappropriate. I'm sorry,
yeah.
IKF. Do not do that. I know you wouldn't anyway, but no, you're a fine real life ball player. Just not a great fantasy player. But why can't he play against some righties? Play some third, Turner. He played a little bit over there last year. I know he's getting old.
But I think the concern is, like, you know, Turner was so good and able to play as many games as he was last year because he DH'd most of the time.
Correct.
So now I think Turner
fair.
should play second, or IKF play second, and then
Play 10
you bring
games
up
there.
Votto. You put Votto at DH, you know, or switch him off at first and put Vlad at DH, whatever. I think that makes a lot of sense. I have drafted Votto in some early DCs and like around pick 700.
Yeah, so cheap.
I'm stoked about this. Plus, it's just great to see Joey Votto actually find a landing spot.
And home too in Canada. Yeah. So that's very cool. So again, he expects to start in the minors, totally chill. He's going to work his way up. He's never been a guy that thinks he just owed something. He wants to earn his way. And so as long as he's hitting in the minors, he expects to be up, you know, in a requisite amount of time. JD Davis released by your Giants. I think he was waived. Now he's been outrighted. So he is available. Do you think he latches on somewhere? I'm not going to make you guess where because who the hell knows. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think he'll land somewhere. You know, maybe Oakland or I don't know, someplace where he'll either be a bench bat or, you know, be on a really bad team and be.
Would you take him in anything right now?
No,
JD Davis.
I would
Not
definitely
even
make
like
sure.
DC?
Definitely make sure I didn't get auto drafted him right now.
Nah, man, you gotta be a dumbass for that to happen. Like,
forget that the clock changed.
Clock switched to 4 hours. Yeah, and the freaking part my own fault, obviously, but Fantrax, you like got to refresh the site all the time for things to take. Like, I think they might have fixed this recently. Let me check. Okay, this has been better functionality now. For a while, I couldn't add anybody to the queue without having to refresh for them to show up in the queue. And the same thing with the Sounders playing. If like I leave my computer on for X number of hours, like it just dies or needs to be refreshed, and then the sound wouldn't play. So my fault. I missed my pick. 4 hours. I'll eat it. JD Davis in the 32nd round won't kill me.
I had some issues with Fantrax yesterday too because we got the Sleeper in the Bus Dynasty first year player draft going on, and I just couldn't get the freaking draft room to even open. But at least it's not like CBS. I'm in a Dynasty League on CBS, and it does not mute you. Like it does not remember you wanted a mute setting. And so, like, I was at work the other day, and all of a sudden, I came up on the clock, and it was all like, "You are on the clock." I was like, well, "Everybody at work now knows that I'm on the clock."
That's funny.
Nobody knows I play fantasy baseball, but everybody knows I'm on the clock for something.
They're like, "What's he on the clock for? What the hell does that mean?" So yeah, JD Davis will probably sign somewhere. I mean, he'll latch on somewhere. He's too good of a hitter to just not play at all. Are you surprised that your team just is not interested?
I think they're just in a roster crunch, you know, the addition of Chapman, and a lot of guys without options. Like, you know, it's hard to, you know, Michael
he doesn't
Salfino,
bring anything defensively.
Yeah. Michael Salfino reached out to me, cause he had drafted Luis Matos in TGFBI, and he was all like, am I crazy? Like, I think Luis Matos is actually pretty decent and like, and could get 500 plate appearances. Like, I don't think he can get 500 plate appearances cause nobody has options on that bench. And
well, there's just so many hurt guys though that he probably could.
Eventually, yeah. But like to start the year, he's not making the team. He's going to AAA. You know,
we have him on the team right now.
You shouldn't. I don't think he's making.
You don't think he's the backup outfielder?
Not unless
they got Tom Murphy, Wilmer Flores, Luis Matos, and Austin Slater. You don't think so?
They're missing somebody. I gotta figure unless they DFA'd someone else and I didn't realize.
Elliot Ramos, you think? Marco Luciano? David VR?
Luciano. I thought Luciano was gonna make the team. Is he not making the team now?
Oh, he's got Nick Ahmed as a non-roster invite making it. But then if Nick Ahmed isn't a starter, he's not gonna. You think he'll be a backup?
Yeah, I thought he was gonna be the backup infielder.
Perhaps. Well, Jason thinks differently right now, Jason Martinez. So we will see how that goes. But either way, keep an eye out for JD Davis. It's really a deep league play regardless, so don't get too hung up on it. Let's get into some sleepers, breakouts, whatever the hell you want to call them. Sleepers, everyone in the industry talks about, sleepers don't exist anymore. Everyone has a bunch of info. And to a degree, I agree with that. Like, I understand.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah, but we still talk about them because we're talking about players who will overperform, right? So that's what
we're just changing the
the
definition. There's no such thing necessarily as a sleeper, because somebody's going to talk. Or, I mean, you and I talk about. We did 6 episodes on outfield and starting pitching. Like, we're going to talk about everybody, but
exactly,
like, there are guys who are going to dramatically overperform what their perceived value is.
It used to be sleepers were due to a lack of information about them. Yep. Now sleepers are due to their price point exclusively.
Yes. I think instead of thinking of a player that nobody's talking about, I'm thinking about a player that people are sleeping on. That the general public
mispriced value.
On. That is, mispriced.
Everyone knows him, but they're still not giving him his due because, everyone knows everybody. So we're going to do a couple, one each in the top 100 of the ADP, then 101 to 200, 201 to 300, and then 300 plus. And we'll do 2 of each in those last 3 categories, but we'll just do one in the top 100 each because, again, it's very weird to say sleeper in the top 100. But we got a couple guys here, and we're on both ends of the age spectrum, which I like here. I love your guys. So interestingly enough, our 2 guys are going in order. Pick 74. Who is your guy in the top 100 that people are sleeping on a bit?
Now, he may not be slept on here in the next couple weeks because he's now playing again, but Matt McLain going to pick 74, I feel like, is just a really, really good price. I have Matt McLain, in terms of like where my projections have on him, right there with the top 3 third basemen. Like, he's right below them, but he's right there. Like, the difference between him and Altuve, and
you say third baseman?
Sorry, the second baseman.
Yeah, I thought that's what you meant. Yeah, I think you did, but I knew what you meant, so I just wanted you to have that correction.
Yeah, so I think he's right there with Altuve and Simeon and Albies in terms of like his actual value. He's got power, he's got speed, he plays in the best park in baseball. He's going to hit towards the top of the lineup. He's got really good feel for contact. I really like Matt McLain. The only question is health. He dealt with kind of an oblique thing. He seems to be over it. Missed some time with an oblique thing last year. I don't know if it's going to become a recurring issue for him. But ultimately, I think Matt McLain, like, if you miss out on a lot of those guys who are going a little bit earlier, I think he is the perfect pivot guy. I really like Nico Horner too. Like, I think there's a tier of kind of 5 second basemen who are kind of all really, really good. But McLain is the guy going the cheapest out of that group. So McLain's one of my dudes.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I love McLain. The only thing that gave me any pause was the oblique out front in spring training. Didn't actually really deter me, though. He's second short eligible. Pick 74 for Matt McLain. Like you said, plays on that amazing team in the amazing park. And, really got overshadowed a bit by everyone else kind of breaking through last year. Don't sleep on what Matt McLain did and what he can do. I'm a big fan. Got him on 3 leagues already. Greg and I took him in our 400 DC. I think we actually got him at a pretty fair price too, because that was like in the peak of, what's going on with Matt McLain's oblique. And we said, yeah, we'll take the shot right now. Obliques can be scary. Justin and I have preached in the past, like, be leery of obliques, but we ended up getting him at, let's see, plus 7 picks. Pick 82. So beyond this ADP here, and we'll take that with Matt McLain all day. Shifting over to my guy, literally the very next pick on the ADP set that we're using here, which again is the RotoWire Online Championship. Those are 12-team waiver leagues, and since March 4th through March 11th, that'll get you 24 drafts to follow along with what we're doing here. The very next pick, well, actually not literally the very next pick, because 74.08 is Matt McLain, then 74.71 is JT Realmuto, but then 75.08 is my guy, Christian Yelich. Now, people used to insult him very much and say he looks like me. Very kind to me, very rude to him, but I'll take it. I don't play like him, though, because he's actually good. And he's back, man. He's got 2 great years now under his belt as, being a very good fantasy asset. Again, it was a little wobbly in 2020. It was still just a 111 WRC plus with 14 and 19. But then last year, 1928 on the homers and steals, back up to 278 with the average, a 122 WRC plus. Been saying all winter long that I think this Brewers lineup is sneaky deep. In fact, you and I were out discussing it the other day. I still think that it's got some viability to it. it needs some guys to come through. There's more than one if, and I will fully grant that. But I just happen to be in on those guys. Your Garrett Mitchell, your Sal Frelick, your Jackson Chorios, basically their whole outfield. And Yelich is at DH. I think even if those guys don't all come through, the William Contreras, Christian Yelich, Rhys Hoskins, Willie Adames quartet right there should keep his runs and ribbies doing well enough that I like Christian Yelich quite a bit at pick 75. I don't want to overstate how slept on he's being because, again, we are in the top 100 here.
Yeah.
He's still being picked nicely, but I could take him 10 picks higher and not even blink.
Yeah. I think that part of the issue with Yelich is, one, just a little bit of age. And two, I think people still kind of compare him to his, MVP seasons where like he was like the 1 or 2 draft pick. Like, and they go, well, he's not that anymore. Well, yeah, but now you're getting in, like he still gives you like 3rd, 4th round value in like the 6th, 7th round. So yeah, I have no problem with that.
Yep. So big Yelich fan, going to continue to take him. Think he is somebody when pitching gets pushed up that he could get pushed down a little bit. We talk about how when come main event season, if you play in the main event, a lot of pitchers get pushed up. Everyone has to go out and get their ace because they want their frontliner. Hitters have to come down, and an old head like Christian Yelich could be somebody who comes down. So if he gets picked around pick 90 all of a sudden, I'm going crazy for that.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to ADP 101 through 200. 2 picks apiece here. And you like one of the guys on that Milwaukee team here. Another one that I very much co-sign with you on this one. Talk to us about Willie Adames at pick 193.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to have any real disagreements today. There might be like one or two of your guys that I go, I don't really care about him, but like that's like towards the end of what's going to be the podcast. So Willie Adames, I just feel like is criminally underrated. Like criminally underrated. Like this is a guy that was going in like the top 100 last year, and I don't think anything's changed. Like he's still like, yes, it was a down season last year, but like I don't think he's gonna have a 259 BABIP. I think the power will tick back up. If he gets traded, he's gonna get traded probably to a better team.
True.
Like I don't know why people are sleeping on Willie Adames, and I feel
prisoner of the moment, man.
Yeah,
just too linked to last year. Can't see beyond that. The 2 years before that when he was a damn fine player. So I totally agree. Love Willie Adames. Almost pick 200? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's just way too low. You should be going like, I think he was going to pick like 140 something last year, maybe 150. Like that's where he should be going again. So.
But he's not, and so we don't have to pay that premium. Yeah. By the way, his new teammate Rhys Hoskins goes right before him in this ADP, literally the pick before him at 192. What do you think about that?
I love that. My only issue with Hoskins has nothing to do with Hoskins in general. It's that I think there are a million guys at first base that I wouldn't mind having. Like, and so like I even said it in my auction yesterday. Like I got Goldschmidt for like $18, and then I think I got like Vinny Pasquantino for like $13. And I go, you know what? I could have like gotten a $3 Anthony Rizzo and like a $4 Rhys Hoskins.
$3.
Yeah, and felt like, oh, I didn't really lose that much. And so I think in future auctions, especially, and in future drafts too, I may like just not like the elite guys. Yes, I absolutely love the elite guys in terms of like, Freeman. I think Freeman is like probably a top 6 or 7 player this year. Like he deserves to be in that group.
I'm with you.
And I think Harper is another guy who's elite, and Matt Olson is elite. Like if I don't get one of those guys, I'm probably just gonna wait. And just like I think Rizzo is like, he's one of the guys that could have made this list pretty.
I'm obsessed with Rizzo. Yep.
Yeah. So I think
totally
Hoskins
back in.
I think Hoskins kind of fits that similar kind of tier, like of guys who at first base who are just criminally underrated.
I'm going to jump back up the board a bit to 126 and talk about one of Rizzo's teammates. I'm big on Anthony Volpe, man. I think there's a little bit of post-hype love. He's cheaper than he was last year, and I understand that he didn't even he did not hit very well last year, right? He had a pretty underwhelming slash line with a 209 batting average, and that's turning some folks off. But I don't understand how he's like 40 picks cheaper than he was last year when he never did anything. Like, this is the classic thing that we talk about, post hype. And if you don't come up and dominate, then you're dead to a bunch of people. And I'm like, geez, there's just no room for people that will want a player to grow. Like, he was 22, trying to hold his own, and we talk about how the Yankees trusted him, and I respect them for that and sticking with him. And he still went 2020 and won a Gold Glove, which, by the way, is really impressive because I thought that was the big flaw in his game. In fact, that's why I was leaning toward Oswald Peraza, for God's sakes. So really, really appreciated what Anthony Volpe was able to do, even though it was a very underwhelming 84 WRC plus. He held his own, man. He went 2020, run it back this year. He wants to make some improvements. He's talked about kind of bringing the swing down a little bit as far as the launch angle, maybe living in the air too much. So maybe he hits like the same amount of home runs or a couple fewer, but with like, I don't know, 50 points of batting average added to 259 or something. Yeah, I think he wants to be a little bit more of a line drive hitter. I'll take that trade-off, to be honest. Even if he only hit 17 homers this year, but came with like a 259, that would be a more than fair trade-off for me. So I'm eager to see what he does in his sophomore campaign. I think it could be a sophomore surge, not a sophomore slump for Anthony Volpe.
You're speaking my language. Anthony Volpe is my most rostered hitter.
Oh, I did not know that.
In the top 100.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, I've got him on, let's see, 5 NFBC teams and my labor teams. So that, I believe, makes him 50% rostered by me.
We are in lockstep there then.
So not only do I think that he can do all those things you were talking about, he's doing it in spring right now. He's got a 15% strikeout rate. Swinging strike rate is under 10%. I think that everything is there for Anthony Volpe to be an absolute star this year. So I'm just right there with you.
I'm glad, but I just don't get how people quit on him after, like, okay, I'm sorry he only gave you a 2020 and had a shitty average. Like, I understand that he
21-24. Like, I'm sorry. And he walks, like he's walking at an 11.5% clip in spring training. He walked at a 9% rate in his rookie year. Like,
yeah.
You know what happens if he hits a few fewer home runs? A hell of a lot more stolen bases. Like,
bingo.
He could be like 1740.
That would be incredible. And like, I understand the 209 average, but that's why you don't take him at pick 80. You know? So, but okay, you took the shot because you're paying for the upside. He gave you a little bit more of a middle or leaning toward a downside, and now you're off of him. That's just crazy. And I don't want to say that everyone who drafted him last year isn't drafting him, but his price has dropped enough that tells you that a bunch of people who did draft him last year have moved off of him. That is just a stone cold fact. By the way, we didn't plan this. We didn't say that you had to do hitters, pitchers, but we happen to each take a pitcher next within pick 101 to 200 here. And again, sorry if people like disagreements. I'm not going to make fake disagreements, though. I don't disagree with you here on Brandon Pfaadt at pick 200. Talk to us about the second-year hurler out in Arizona, Brandon Pfaadt.
So I also tried to pick guys that like I haven't talked a ton about.
Oh, yeah, I meant to say that earlier. Sorry.
Yeah, I could have picked Dalton Varsho and Zach Eflin and guys like that. And, Bailey, we just had this long discussion about Bailey Ober, and how much I really, really like him. But I wanted to kind of focus more on guys that I don't feel like we've given enough love to so far this year. Brandon Pfaadt's one of them. Like, Brandon Pfaadt through 160 innings last year, or pretty close to it. Between AAA and the majors. So, like, volume is not a concern for me. And he made real improvements in terms of the command and control as the season went on into the playoffs. He's showing, I mean, obviously, like, if you look at the spring numbers, you're going, oh, he's got 11 ERA. I don't really care. His walk rate is minuscule right now at 4%. I think the strikeouts will be there.
No idea what he's working on. I don't care. Unless you can tell me exactly what he's been working on or whatever, I just don't care about the spring results.
I do think that he will struggle with command at times and that he will give up home runs. But if he can keep that walk rate in check, and I mean, if you look at the totality of his season last year, like, the walk rate wasn't that bad. Like, it wasn't great, but like, it was still 6% in both AAA and the majors. Like,
I'll take that.
Like, I'll take 6% or even lower. And he gives up maybe 1.4, 1.5 home runs. like he's still a very valuable pitcher who can get a lot of strikeouts that can volume on a team that's going to be good in Arizona. So I like Brandon Pfaadt a lot. I think he's pretty underrated right now.
Yep, I will co-sign that. Like I said, I am definitely in on him. I don't know if I have any shares yet, but he's a guy that I definitely intrigued by to see what he can do for his second year around. And I agree, the command is going to be an issue, so there will be homers. But if he keeps the walk rate in check, we talked about with our guy Ober, even somebody like Joe Ryan, who I have soured on a bit, they'll be solos more often than not. As long as they're pitching well, they won't get sunk by the homer all the time. And so he's 25. He could take a step forward. There's lots to like there with Brandon Pfaadt. My guy's Hunter Brown. Speaking of a guy looking to make a better impression in his sophomore campaign, he didn't have a standout playoff like Pfaadt that really kind of put Pfaadt's profile up a little bit. There's still like some downness on Hunter Brown, but not a ton, because frankly, I would have thought he would have been closer to pick 200 with as poorly as he pitched last year, but he's at 166, and I understand that. I'm just bitter more than anything. I was hoping that people would overreact, push him down closer to the 190s or 200s, but no, people are seeing the 19% strikeout minus walk. They understand, but I still think it's a good price. It's still undervalued to me. I would pay upwards in the 120s for somebody like Hunter Brown, because I really do think he could take that big step. I was huge on him last year. He did not come to fruition the way I hoped. 5.09 ERA, 136 whip, but 27% K rate and a solid league average 8% walk rate is a foundation and a building block that he can build upon. He does have to cut the homers, similar to what we talked about with Pfaadt, because he does have some walk issues, so he can get burned by the multi-run homer, and that's why we do need to see Hunter Brown's command, smooth out a little bit. I like that he's walking fewer in spring. I'm not too worried about. I'm not even going to pretend that the 0 homers in 4 innings matters. It does not, but I do like the 17% swinging strike rate and the walk rate being lowered. Right, I like just small skills, small little things there within his 4 innings that are nice for Hunter Brown. Not going to get too hung up on the spring numbers regardless, but I'm definitely taking Hunter Brown shares again this year. Baby Verlander, hey, Justin Verlander took some time before he was a god as well. So he patterns himself off of Verlander. He grew up in Michigan, in the Detroit area. That's why Hunter Brown, if you hear him called like a baby Verlander, he tried to be just like JV.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. Another guy who threw a lot of innings in the majors. They were all in the majors last year, 155 innings. So like volume is not going to be an issue. Like he could push 160, 170, no problem. The question is going to be the homers. Like, can he keep the ball in the yard? I mean, obviously it's only 4 innings, but he hasn't given up a home run yet. So that's
good,
something.
but it's 4 innings.
Yeah, we don't really care about 4 innings, but just a guy that I think he's kind of appropriately priced right now, but definitely a guy I want to make sure I get a share or two of before the end of the season.
Yeah, again, I don't think it's like this egregious price point. I was hoping for a little bit cheaper. There's a handful of guys out there that I was like, man, the market too sharp. That pisses me off. Be dumber, people. But no, they're being pretty smart about Brown, not letting him get too far out of there. Hunter Brown, we're both big fans. Let's move on to ADP 201 to 300. And we're going to start with a guy that's actually rising, but still at 210. Like, even with a recent rise that we've seen from Maikel Garcia, he's only at 210 here. That's not a terrible price point. Talk to us about Maikel Garcia.
So, I mean, this is like the epitome of a wide awake sleeper, which phrase you coined, I think, or at least like to use for your articles.
I coined that one. I will take credit on that one. But if anyone else uses it, that's fine. I'm not going to pretend like I invented everything.
He's moving up the boards. People are really excited about him because he's leading off, man. Like if you're looking for this year's Cedric Mullins, this year's TJ Friedel, it's not an outfielder. It's not someone necessarily going outside of the top 300 picks. It's someone who like is criminally underrated because they could lead off on a pretty decent team and has power and speed. Maikel Garcia has all those things. He also got a hit tool, which I really, really like. I don't know if the power is ever going to be like prodigious or anything, but like,
sure.
Could he be like a 10-40 guy? I think he could. At third base is pretty crazy. Like, why couldn't Maikel Garcia be everything that we wanted or have wanted Brian Hayes to be? And Brian Hayes goes a little bit earlier. So, yeah, I really, really like Maikel Garcia. I haven't got enough of him because everybody seems to be in on him too. So not alone.
Hot right
now. Yeah. So, but I mean, I've talked all season all draft season about how much I like the Royals offense, especially the Royals in general. And like, so Michael Garcia potentially leading off for those Royals could be really, really sexy. So yeah, I like that. I like him a lot.
Yeah, and I guess the appropriate question on somebody like Michael Garcia, because he is so hot in the market right now, is what's your break point?
That's a really good question that I don't think I have an answer for.
175, let's say. Still paying?
Yeah, I pay
Okay.
175. I think Brian Hayes goes 164. I think probably right about there.
Somewhere right around there, then
Yeah.
you'll still take Michael Garcia shares? Okay. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, because they're both third base. I think that's a solid comparison there. Isaac Paredes goes a little bit after that, 180 for Max Muncy. So, Alec Boehm at 166 is right around there with Brian Hayes. So those three are all together. The next third baseman after that's Jake Berger at 145.
I think Jake Berger is above Markel Garcia.
He's like 30 locked in, right? 30 bombs.
As long as he's healthy, yeah.
Yeah, he's got big boy power. It's all about the health with Jake Berger. Even in Florida, or Miami, as it were, he showed that.
But it depends too. Like, what does your team need at that point? You have
also,
power
that's
already.
A great point.
Like, do you need batting average and stolen bases? Because I mean, those.
So if you were locked in power and you're picking on a wheel of some, I don't know the exact.
Take both. Put Markel Garcia at your third or at your CI and Jake Berger at your third.
Well, I was going to go a different way with it and say, because around pick 150, I know you're going to be taking TJ Friedl. Would you do a wheel of Friedl Garcia?
Yes.
That's a lot of speed for one. But let's say you need that. Let's say you got power for days. Okay.
You look at like what I did in my auction yesterday. Like, one of the things I got Friedl, and I got I probably just grab my draft sheet, which is in the trash behind me, as I pull it out. And I got Friedl. I got Alexander Bogaerts.
Symbolism.
Yeah, I got Nimmo. I got Ha-Seong Kim, and it's like, well, I need power, but I've got batting average and speed. Like, oh, well, I had Kyle Schwarber to the team. Like, it's just a matter of how the team fits together. I don't care where I take the stats. I just want all the stats to work together.
Absolutely, and that makes a lot of sense. So Michael Garcia, definitely a guy who could continue to rise. So if you like him, be prepared, but know your cutoff too. If somebody's pushing around 160, if that's not your speed and you're more of a Boehm, Brian Hayes, Max Muncy type, that's fine too. But if you need the speed, Garcia is a good pivot there, because a lot of those other third basemen are power, like Isaac Paredes and Muncy. Boehm's kind of in between with the average and a little bit of pop, and then Brian Hayes, will his power jump again this year? We don't know. My guy is Cutter Crawford, and I'm a pretty recent convert here to like really banging the Cutter Crawford drum. Basically dating back to just our last episode on starting pitchers, when I realized I've got him ranked entirely too low. I talked about this, how I talked with Tim Kanak the very night that you and I had talked. He brought up Cutter Crawford because he said I snaked him on Cutter Crawford in TGFBI. And so then I was doing an SP update that week as well. So all this confluence of events here led to Cutter Crawford jumping substantially in my pitcher rankings here, to where I've now got him, I think I want to say 42. Let me look. Let me make sure I got that right. He was at 72. I think he took a 30-point jump. Cutter Crawford, yes, is now up to SP 42 for me. That's a 30-point jump. And I knew at 72, like I had written an incomplete profile on him. I basically said, the more I looked at him, the more I liked him. And then that was it. That's all I put. And people were like, what the hell did you do here with Cutter Crawford's write-up? And to their point, I did nothing. I did not finish it. But I am in, man. I really, really like this guy. I knew I did. I just, like I said, didn't finish. And I realized that this was a guy that I got to have. And I tell you, we talked about this on Friday. I've just become more enamored with that Boston Red Sox pitching staff. I think that they run 5 deep. By the way, it is confirmed that Giolito is going to get surgery. We knew that was coming. We weren't drafting him anyway. This does nothing for Crawford, but I'm just saying for those that didn't know, and we didn't have it in the news there. But Cutter Crawford could be their ace. He could be an absolute monster here. He's got wonderful skills, 19% strikeout minus walk, 129 innings. I don't think he's going to be a volume issue either. He can get all the way to 170 pretty easily. So I'm big on Cutter Crawford. He's picked 234. I think that's a totally fair price. I would pay upwards of pick 200, 190.
Yeah, I took Crawford as my last pitcher.
Love it.
In my auction last night. I also got
how many bucks?
6. But I had $6 left. So
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's fine, even if it wasn't one of those things. Because yeah, you like to spend all your money, which I totally agree with.
Yeah,
You want to do that in an auction, but even if I wasn't, I'm fine with that.
yeah. I mean, and if anybody knows like how I tend to auction, I had zero. I think $5 was my cheapest pitcher. It was Brandon Pfaadt. So like I spread the wealth pretty evenly, especially among my pitchers. And yeah, I'm a recent convert as well. I know there have been like guys like John Legeza have been huge on Crawford for a while, but I'm starting to come
Shouts
around
to
a little
them.
bit.
Yeah, shouts to the early bandwagon folks. Just make some room for me because I'm coming on whether you like it or not. I don't take up much space. I'm built like a stick, so just let me on. I'm not here to ruin your fun. Just like when people get mad at bandwagon fans when their team's going to the World Series because they suffered through all the bad. Hey, you were there first. You've got more shares than me, but I'm still getting in.
Yeah.
Now, if we're in the same draft, I understand that you're mad that I'm honing in on your guy, but that's just part of the game, baby. But give me some of that Cutter Crawford all day long. Next up for you is a guy that I was pretty big on last year. Ended up getting him off the waiver wire in my main event because he was cut. And just as things were getting going, injury struck and undercut Brendan Donovan, but he's back for season 2 here. What can he do now? Looking to rebound from last year's ugly season. Well, actually season 3, excuse me. He played a full season in 2022, but then, was getting going last year. And just as he was hitting his high note, shit went south and he only played 95 games. What can Brendan Donovan do this year at age 27? Magic year, by the way.
Yeah, obviously a magic year for Brandon Donovan because it is age 27 season. I mean, part of this has a little bit to do with the news of Lars Nootbaar breaking some ribs and going to be out for a little while. Brendan Donovan is probably going to be the leadoff hitter in St. Louis, at least for the time being. And
I have Lars Nootbaar everywhere.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, buddy.
Like literally everywhere.
Hopefully, he won't miss too much time, but Brooklyn would suck.
That's really rough.
Yeah. But yeah, I think he's going to lead off in front of Goldschmidt and Gorman and Arenado and Wilson Contreras. And there is not a ton of power. There's not a ton of speed, but there is a good amount of batting average and a lot of plate appearances to be had right now.
Yes.
And even when Lars Nootbaar comes back, because Donovan can play a lot of different positions, like I still think he's going to get a fair share of plate appearances. So, like I just think he is one of those kind of cheap guys that are boring that people don't realize have a lot of value. And like if he scored 90 runs this year, I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised at all if Brendan Donovan dropped 90 runs. And don't forget, last year there was talk of a power surge, and it came to fruition. It was working. He had 11 homers and 371 plate appearances after 5 in 468. Again, it just got undercut by the fact that he only played 95 games. So keep that in mind, too, if he keeps those gains. Now, it was a 138 ISO. It wasn't like some great power surge. But if he hits like 16, 17 this year, that would be really nice with 11 steals, 90 runs, and a 280 average type of deal, right? Like it's a boring line, but then when you add it all up, it ends up being like $24 of value that you're getting at pick 296 for God's sakes. He's very underrated, right? We've talked about how some of our guys here are like pretty fairly priced, but we still think that they could really jump above their price. 296 here is very low. Second base outfield. I love Donovan. I've been stocking up again this year.
Isn't this the exact same profile of like Riley Green? Who's going to pick 145?
Yeah, it is actually.
Like,
I like that call out.
I'm pumping the brakes on my Riley Green hate. Like, I think Riley Green's fine. Like, I think he's still a little overrated, but he's not like tremendously overrated. But Brendan Donovan is wildly underrated.
I have found, even as a Tigers fan, that Riley Green's a little bit overrated too.
Yeah,
I have
it's
to
the prospect.
Like the fantasy profile. I know, but it's just like I don't know where the fantasy profile is. Like I'm excited for him as a real life player. I really, 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 really like him as a Tigers player, the all around game. But as fantasy, I'm like, I don't know. All right, my guy, this might be one of the ones you disagree with me on because not everyone's with me on this one. But I like Chris Bryant at pick 244. I don't know. I'm just kind of betting on the historical track record and Coors, right? I don't have numbers to throw at y'all, because he had 73 WRC plus last year. That's dog shit, right? 10 homers in 80 games. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that there's a bunch of great numbers. His plate skills were still fine. 20% K, 9% walk, no issues with anything there. But the power was light. grant that. I grant all of the flaws that you want to cite, but that's why Chris Bryant is picked 244. And so I'm just going to bet on a 32-year-old that's not ancient. He's got 2 homers in spring. I like seeing a little bit of a power surge there. I'm going to bet on a guy in Coors that cheap. It's a cheap way into Coors. I'll take it. I like Chris Bryant. I don't know what was I going to say Garrett Atkins? Why did I almost say Garrett? But either way, I like Chris Bryant, and I don't care
like Garrett Atkins.
Garrett Atkins was good one year. Shut up.
Yeah, he was. I don't have a problem with this. Like this is one where I kind of disagree. I don't really want Chris Bryant on my team, but like I could totally see all those things happening. I just don't care that much. I think he's past his prime, but it is Colorado. You know what I love though about spring training stats is when you start to just like look around a guy's profile and stuff, and like looking at like just random stats. What do you think Chris Bryant's fly ball percentage is in spring?
He's got 2 bombs, so I'm just going to assume high. I'm going to say like something silly like 62%.
78.6%.
He's just lifting, dude. He's like, I got to hit a few bombs. I got to get people back on my side here with a few spring bombs.
Like it means absolutely nothing. Just like the
it's just
20%
funny.
Strikeout rate doesn't mean anything. He's got like a sub 10% swing strike rate.
Well, we're talking spring strikeouts. I didn't put Mike Trout for my top 100 ADP guy because I feel like I've been pumping him up left and right. I don't give a shit that he's leading spring and strikeouts.
Someone asked me if I cared or if
I don't.
Worried
now,
me
listen.
He's got so many strikeouts. I don't. Yeah.
It is understandable why people ask, because what do we say matters in spring? Strikeouts and walks.
Strikeouts and walks, yeah.
So like, I'm not making fun of that person because they also asked me as well. So this is not an attack at that person. For me,
it's Mike Trout. Like
exactly. Not everybody's numbers matter the same. And when you're Mike Trout, your numbers don't really matter at all to me, except that you're playing. Yeah. I just need to know that you're playing. I know he strikes out some when he's playing and he's on.
If you
he's
can guarantee me 600 plate appearances, we're taking Mike Trout in the first round.
Take him in the third round. First round, maybe, yeah. I mean, I would take him so early if he was guaranteed 600 plate appearances. So, yeah, I wanted to bring that up since you brought up the strikeouts. And similarly, for somebody like Chris Bryant, he's never really had a 28% K rate in the majors. Plus, he has an 8% swinging strike rate, too. So, I'm not even thinking that the strikeouts are a big part of it. But again, it's a boring pick, but he's kind of cheap. Relative to what he can be. We know Coors can boost somebody as good as him. Find me some health, and I'm going to get a big win there. And if not, maybe I end up cutting him a month into the season too. It doesn't kill me in a 12-teamer to cut him at pick 244. All right, let's move on to pick 300. Yes?
Some little breaking news.
Is it bad? Is it more bad news?
I mean, depends on... I mean, it's not good news, but like it's predictable news. Caminero was just optioned down to AAA.
Oh, yeah.
We all knew it was going to happen, but yeah.
Never thought Junior.
There were people still drafting.
No, you're right.
Like he was going to break camp, and we told you he wouldn't.
Where the hell was he going to play, y'all?
Yeah,
he wasn't moving back to shortstop to unseat Caballero, and Isaac Paredes had third base locked down.
He'll be back. He'll be back.
He's very interesting. I like him in DC. I'd still take him in DC. If I started one today, I would take Junior Caminero. But other than that, no. All right, pick 300 plus. You want to talk about a bunch of Orioles? We have one non-Oriole here. And that's, again, just how it happened. But we each picked a bunch of Orioles. We actually ended up with 4 Orioles, even though there's only 4 slots here, because I doubled up, and I'll just mention both, and you kind of pick your favorite if you want. And then I have another Rocky, who might be another one of the guys that you're not as keen on as I am. But let's start with Dean Kramer. We did talk about him in the last pitcher episode, similar to Cutter Crawford, so you might not want to go as deep on him. But you're big on Dean Kramer. He's picked 302. That feels pretty cheap for somebody who could get double-digit wins just kind of sleepwalking through the season, no?
Yeah. And I mean, 3 starts in spring training so far. The walk rate is 8%. So what, league average, whatever, but no home runs given up, which has been his issue in the majors. And strikeout rate is right there so far. I mean, 22% strikeout rate with 12% swing strike rate. Like, I think this is a guy that can, especially at home, where the homers aren't going to hurt him as much because Camden so hard to hit the ball out of. Like, I think is a really, really viable streamer with some upside. Like, this reminds me a lot of Kyle Bradish last year, a guy going outside top 300 that could potentially return, I don't want to say ace value, but like a much better value than we're expecting. So I was in on Bradish last year. I'm in on Dean Kramer this year.
Yeah, I can totally see it, and we talked about my woes of not drafting guys, drafting enough guys on good teams, even if they're kind of middling pitchers. Dean Kramer's the kind of guy I need more shares of. You need to be more in. Plus, he has upside too. I don't want to just pretend he has no potential value. He's been working on his pitches. He cares about his craft. He's trying to make himself better. He dropped 173 innings last year. There's no reason he can't run that back. And with a little bit of improvement, if he's striking out 23, 24%, sure, that's a little bit under that K per inning that we like, which is 25%. But I would take that all day. And again, he could sleepwalk his way to 14 wins. He had 13 last year, 13-5. And so at the very least with Dean Kramer, pick 302, you're using him at home. At the very least, you're spotting him at home. All right, so my two here, I got a little combo meal here. Colton Cowser, Heston Kjerstad. I'm a big fan of both. Kind of choose your own adventure. Right now in a 12-teamer, and this is evidenced by their ADPs because Cowser's at pick 360 and Kjerstad's not being drafted. Right now, Cowser has a much better angle on a roster spot than Kjerstad, but I love both players. They are fantastic. In fact, your player was also on my redraft list of prospects that I did for Prospect Week, and I talked about all three of them, and all three of them kind of got small write-ups, and someone in the comments was like, oh man, I was really hoping you'd say a little bit more about them than just kind of like, oh, they're looking for a spot. So then I ended up doing basically a supplemental write-up on them in the comments. So check out the comments of that article if you want to see. They all ended up getting their own blurb. Kjerstad's my absolute favorite, but he is not angling toward the spot right now. I just think his 70 grade power is bananas. I absolutely love it. Cowser's the one you want to take in 10 and 12 teamers right now. Kjerstad and Cowser, I think, are more viable in DCs and 15 teamers. Kjerstad, like I said, crushes the ball. Wait till he gets his opportunity. Keep him on your watch list because he's probably not breaking camp. Cowser, chance to break camp here and be on the opening day roster in the outfield. Your boy Cedric is dealing with some injury right now. He could even be starting day one, depending on what happens with Cedric Mullins and his health. Cowser's kind of a do-everything type of guy. He doesn't have a single skill that he super excels at. 17 homers, 9 steals in 87 games last year, but he hit 300, 417, 520. This was all at AAA, by the way. Just another excellent prospect. I mean, Baltimore right now, you just can't go wrong getting their prospects. So I like Cowser, I like Kjerstad, and I like your next guy, Kobe Mayo, who we're going to talk about. But talk to us about the outfielders first. What do you think of Cowser and Kjerstad?
Yeah, I don't think Kjerstad has a spot on the team, unfortunately, unless Baltimore makes a move. Maybe Cowser could be the move, honestly.
That's the thing. They could trade any of these guys to get more pitching, especially if Bradish is officially out, and then like maybe Means has like another setback. Maybe they say, oh, we need Jesus Luzardo, and then Cowser for Luzardo.
Or Dylan Cease.
Or
right?
Mayo. Yeah.
So, I don't think Mayo would get traded just because I think they've got just a glut of outfielders that they could really.
True. Mayo's an infielder, and they moved Ortiz in the last deal, so it would be an outfielder.
That's why I went with Mayo instead of Cowser. But Cowser's had an amazing spring. I think his spring is going to make him make the team. And this is a guy who's a top 10 prospect that everybody kind of forgot about because he struggled in this really small sample at the major league level. The hard part is figuring out where the playing time comes from, but that is a problem for like the future, like just like the Red situation, like
take the talent.
Things just tend to work themselves out. Just like Brian O'Hearn really need to play on this team. If Colton Cowser is, like crushing the ball, why can't they just put Mountcastle at first? And
why do you refuse to acknowledge that it could be your boy
Mullins?
Yes,
it could be. I mean, Mullins plays center, so like
so does Cowser.
Mullins a better center fielder than Cowser,
but he's not a better hitter.
You're just really coming after me right now.
I'm coming straight with the
prior to the hamstring issue. Mullins,
I'm bringing the honesty,
was playing really, really well. So, and I think not a lot of struggles, but some of his struggles last year was due to just being kind of nicked up and injured, a lot of the year. That being said, maybe you're right. Maybe he does supplant Mullins at some point. Maybe they trade Mullins at some point. A lot of teams could use a center fielder.
Sure.
So, but I do think, I think Cowser's a really, really good bet, especially in DCs. But even like late in a 15-team league, I have no problem taking a dart throw on.
I take him in a 12er. I'll take him in a 12er right now too. Again, Kjerstad, he's a DC watch list type of guy right now. But when he gets called up, it will be called up because there'll be an opportunity. You want him. you
Yeah.
want Heston Kjerstad as well. Do not sleep on him. Okay, so talk to us about Kobe Mayo then, because he's also angling, trying to figure out where he fits with everything. Could Kobe Mayo break this team and be a part of their infield?
Mayo's having a really good spring as well. Hit a home run, I think, yesterday. 17% strikeout rate, 11% walk rate right now, hitting 333, 429, 600. I think he probably goes down to the minors. But I think he's back up really, really quickly. I don't think Jordan Westbrook's very good. And
ooh, shots fired.
yeah, I think Kobe Mayo is the kind of guy that they could put in the middle of that lineup and him just be an absolute like monster in terms of power. I mean, he legit has like 70, 80 great power. As long as he makes enough contact, and like I said, he's only striking out a 17% clip right now in the spring. Obviously, small sample, like we always say, but I'm trying to find where his swing strike rate is. For some reason,
Kobe Mayo's
not.
is at 7.5%, 8%, round it up.
So there you go. I really like Kobe Mayo. I think he's going to be really, really good. I've been taking him at the end of a lot of 15-team drafts right now. I could even do it in a 12. So yeah, he's a guy I'm willing to take a dart throw on, especially if somehow he does make the opening day roster. Like I said, I don't think he will, but I think he's a guy to stash. I think he's going to be up late April, early May.
It is funny how, we talk so much about Cincinnati and what are they going to do with all their guys. And I mean, there is some talk about that with Baltimore, but not as much, I would say.
It's more of a talk of like, why haven't they traded some of these guys for pitching?
Yeah.
Because there's a clear need of starting pitching on this team.
They did the one trade, though. I guess the thing of it is you can't trade everybody, because then if you lose guys, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can't just move every single guy. So I understand it to that degree.
You can move a couple of these guys. Like, it's just like...
No, I know.
They're just cheap.
Well, yeah, that's part of it, too. Although they have new ownership. So we don't know if that new ownership is cheap or not yet. So we got to give them some time to prove whether or not they are. All right, last guy here, Brenton Doyle, going back to Colorado again. Look, sometimes you're just going to trust Coors. That's how we landed on a bunch of guys in Cincinnati last year before they all started becoming the flavors of the month. And so you could do that again this year too. Take your Will Bensons, take your Christian Encarnacion Strands. You 10-teamers, some of these guys are going to be late picks or at least middle round picks in those leagues. So you can be comfortable leaning on that. This is another one. This is like my boy Alek Thomas. And we talked about how we weren't just going to put our favorites on here because we talk about them enough. So I didn't need to give you guys another rundown about Alek Thomas and both of us on Bailey Ober and all that. Brenton Doyle is very similar in that his glove is so good that he is locked into the playing time. Like, he's not going anywhere. He's one of the best fielders out there. And the way you know that is he had 431 plate appearances last year of a 43 WRC plus. That is so horrendous, it's unbelievable. But 10 homers, 22 steals. He has some raw skills. The problem is he's up there flailing, y'all. 35% K rate, 18% swinging strike rate, and just a 5% walk rate. So it's all bad on that front for Brenton Doyle. He needs to figure some things out. But you get to learn on the job. Age 26, still plenty of time to grow for Brenton Doyle. And if you just want the cheap, homers and steals and kind of use them at home only, you can definitely do that in some of your deeper leagues for Brenton Doyle because he's not expensive in a 15-teamer either. I just think somebody who's guaranteed PT in Colorado who can run at the very least, I'm going to be in on it. And if you just take his home numbers, it was 213 average, 6 homers, 12 steals in 193 plate appearances. 213, by the way, I'm still not pretending that that's great, but at least it's not, 203. So you get 10 extra bonus points there of batting average. Hey, he could get a little lucky. He was a 295 BABIP. He's got to make more contact. That's the only thing that's going to deliver a true breakout, but the projections have him at 1520. So I'll take that from Brenton Doyle, and I'll let you deliver the news about what he's doing this spring.
He only has 4 strikeouts. It's a
15% strikeout rate.
Strikeout rate. Swing strike rate is under 10%.
9%. Wait. What does your Fangraphs leaderboard look like? When you go right to a person's page, you don't see their swing strike rate right away? Do you not have a custom dashboard?
I do, but I never actually use it. It's like literally, like it's so big. I have so much stuff on it that
So okay,
I should probably
here's
take it
mine.
off.
I'll send you mine. This is the very first thing that I see once I scroll down below the articles. And so that's why I always have their swinging strike rate very quickly. I messaged it to you there. It's just right there. And I had to trim down too, because I used to have like 50,000 categories, but I just slimmed it down to their basic fantasy counting categories: K rate, walk rate, swinging strike rate, triple slash, WRC plus, BABIP, homer to ground fly ball rate, ground ball to fly ball rate, WAR, and then the dollar value thing.
Yeah,
It's not too bad.
I should probably. I'll send you.
And you could cut some of these. You could cut some of these, but
I should probably clean it up. I'm just so used to kind of just scrolling around.
I know, but man, I gotta have my swinging strike rate like right there for me. That's the beauty of our website and having that those tools right there for you. I believe custom dashboards is part of being a subscriber. Actually, I don't even know if you need to be a member for that. I know you need to be a member to get the dark mode. People see the dark mode on my stream and they're like, how do you do that? I'm like, you gotta be a member. You get yourself a little dark mode on Fangraphs. But yeah, what do you think of Brenton Doyle? You in it all?
I haven't.
You encouraged by the strikeouts?
I'm definitely encouraged by the strikeouts, because if he,
this is the kind of guy, right?
Yeah.
This is the kind of guy where we say strikeouts and walks actually have a little bit of merit. It's only 27 plate appearances. Again, we're not saying that he's this guy now, but you see these major improvements, you can get a little bit interested in it for somebody like Brenton Doyle. So that, not Mike Trout, right?
Yeah. Like this is really, really encouraging, especially because it's coming with the 11% walk rate. Like,
yes,
the combination of those two things could, if he could keep some of those, what appears to be a little bit of a gain.
Okay, you got some good shit here, but you got some stuff that I would definitely get rid of.
Yeah, I should probably.
You can tighten this up.
I won't.
You can get a good.
I probably should. Yeah,
you should. But just do it before the season starts. Spring cleaning, baby.
But Doyle is one of those guys. Like, I could see him, if he can keep a double-digit walk rate, and he doesn't have to keep a 15% strikeout rate, but like if he was even just at like 23% or 25% strikeout rate, like he could move at the top of the order, and then all of a sudden you're talking about a guy who could lead off in Colorado and steal a bunch of bases and hit for a decent amount of power. Like, there's real power in the bat too. So I think this is a guy that I've kind of slept on, that I shouldn't be sleeping on.
Well, there you go. I like to hear that, because he's definitely somebody I'm very interested in. Brenton Doyle, keep an eye on him. And he's so cheap. He's so cheap that if it flops again and he goes all the way back down and keeps striking out again, you don't have to hang on to him, because I know he won't play in every league with some of these numbers. But if these new numbers have some viability to them, then watch out. We could really see
430 plate appearances. He had 10 home runs and 22 stolen bases.
That's not nothing.
That's,
I know
like
it's a double negative there, but
that's like a 1530 season and 600 plate appearances.
That's a little something right there. Yeah. So there you go. Got a handful of sleepers, breakouts, whatever the heck you want to call them. Bunch of guys that we like. I guess then later this week we should do Bust, since that's the name of our show. Sleeper.
Well, I won't be here, so.
Oh, that's right. I got to figure out something. Oh, I got to talk to some guests. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me.
Unless you want to do a Wednesday episode or something like that, we could talk.
I could do a Wednesday episode. So let's confer on that. Let's see what your timing looks like with everything. We also got OOTP coming out this week, so big week. Very excited, and I know you're going to New York for your Tout Wars draft. What are you in again? You're in the mixer?
Yeah, I'm in the mixed auction.
Got it. And Nick Pollock, you're battling Nick Pollock, no?
No, I think Nick went back to head-to-head.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
Battling Derek Van Riper and Brett Sayer, who beat me out on the last day.
Fantastic
of
player.
The league. And I think Alex Chamberlain might be in that one.
Oh my goodness.
It's a really, really fun, tough draft. So
I will miss y'all.
Yeah.
I'll miss y'all not traveling this March, but have a good time out there. And if we don't do a Wednesday episode, you and I will talk Monday. You'll be back Monday?
Yeah, I'll be back Monday.
Okay, fantastic. All right, man. We'll have a good one, and we will chat soon.
Take it easy.